Hi, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being with me. This is the Me and You podcast. I am your host, Rebecca, and this is a safe place on the internet for all things personal evolution, self reflection, compassionate community. I always say this in every episode, and it keeps being true in every episode, but the internet can be a safe space so long as we will it. And here I am willing it and we're going to make it happen. So, today I want to talk to you about preset coping, my guide to stressful events. I am someone who has suffered from social anxiety in a really debilitating way, in a way that most people in my life aren't even fully aware of. But I'm talking about panic attacks in the Olive Garden bathroom, throwing up on my way into school because I was so stressed about being in class. I'm talking about not being able to sleep through the night because I'm so anxious and so worried about going into life the next day, like just having to life, literally nothing even coming up, like just being that stressed. So that's the kind of like mental framework I'm coming at this from. I'm someone who just has an elevated nervous system, I guess. And I've basically developed habits and tools and tricks that have helped me to stay connected to myself during hard or dysregulating things or things that I would have found in my body as dysregulating. So I just want to share some of these tips with you. So, what I mean by preset coping is exactly what it sounds like. Before you have something that could dysregulate you, and this can be a variety of things, ranging from a hard conversation with a friend to a scary meeting with your manager to starting a new class or something you're nervous about, being on a stage. This could be literally anything. And these are little things that I have developed over the years that basically keep me regulated throughout that feeling of being stressed. So, I'm just going to get right into it, honestly. Let's say I have something stressful coming up. I will essentially put together a couple of tools in my toolkit that will help me to feel balanced throughout the process. So, one of those things is that I will clean my space beforehand. Having a clean space for me to come back into, and that can be my home, that could be my room, whatever it is, but having like a landing pad. And I like to really engage all of my senses in this landing pad. So, I want to make sure that it is visually appealing, that it smells calming. So that's going to be like lavender, tea tree, sage, palo santo, eucalyptus. Like it's going to feel calm. Like I'm going to need some sort of like soft blankets around or a soft kind of environment. I want it to sound good. Like, maybe I'll have some relaxing music on in the background or music that brings me peace and relaxation. And maybe I'll have, some kind of a calming drink also for me when I get back in there. I'll make sure that I'll make some tea when I get back or something, but I'll basically create like a really sensory inviting environment, keeping my space really calm and like my sanctuary, my fortress. This is my place to come back and like release the burdens of the day, release illusion, and just find myself like back and grounded and centered. So cleaning my space beforehand and prepping my space for that. And that doesn't mean like I won't like turn on all the lights and everything like that. Like I'll just make sure that like my space is clean and it's easy to make this vibe as soon as I land back in my space. I also protect my energy beforehand. So let's say I'm going to a stressful event. Back when I was in college, and I was in college at Florida State University, we used to have these things called theater forum, and they would genuinely stress me out so much. It was when the entire theater school would get together in the main stage of, I think it's called the Falcon Theater or something like that. And we would have like a forum basically. And it was just deeply unsettling for me. It was a lot of people. It was very stressful. It was very cliquey. And it felt like me having no community was like put on blast for everyone to see that I had no one, or I felt like I had no one. I felt really lonely in that space. So I would be really stressed out before I would go to those events. And I would kind of just protect my energy beforehand. And one of the ways I do that is through verbalizing objective truths. So, objective truths are things that are true no matter what. They're things that are true no matter who, no matter what, no matter when, no matter where, no matter how. Like these things are just always true. And I actually want to read a couple of them to you. So, let me go grab those. Okay, so these are some objective truths, and I wrote these out in my manifestation journal. I've talked about this before, but I basically have a journal that I kind of write down all of my kind of like overarching, thoughts about life or myself or my goals or things that I'm working through. And I kind of keep it in this like special journal. If you don't have a visual component right now, it's just like a really beautiful starry night themed journal. And it's like a space for me to open up and see like, this is me, Okay, so some objective truths. I just want to read some to you. You take what works, leave the rest. Fear of taking up space is learnt behavior. Spending time alone is necessary to return to who you are. Silence is just as sacred as noise. You heal others when you heal yourself. Just being is enough. For the giver comes the fullness of life, and for the taker comes an empty hand. Showing off does not reveal enlightenment. What you seek is seeking you. You receive blessings when you are a blessing to others. Repetition sows truth into spirit. Our presence has power. The gentle outlast the strong. Humans were made for cooperation. Like attracts like. All things perceived come and go. My breath is medicine. Stillness brings answers. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. There is strength and vulnerability. Discomfort is the path to my expansion. And if you lead with love, you leave with love. And these are just a couple things that are true no matter what story I tell myself, no matter what anxious fit I get into in my mind. I have this like anchor, like thought process of like, this is true no matter what. This is true for me, for you, for anyone. Like, these are just true things, basically. And it helps me to remain like objective and kind of zoomed out when I'm in a stressful environment or I'm having a stressful moment, because it's like this thing is real and true no matter what, even when I'm like, even when my mind has lost the plot, you know? I also will come up with a couple kind words for myself throughout the event, how I can be kind to myself or how I can be kind to others, or a couple like balancing words for me to have in my head. One of the things that my friend had talked to me about when I was at the peak of being so socially anxious and just so stressed out all the time is she was talking to me about spotlight syndrome and how sometimes when you're a really anxious person, you get spotlight syndrome where you think you are more perceived than you are. And like you think people are remembering you more than they are. And for me, that looked like, you know, going to these theater forum events, or I was in lots of like really cool classes. And this never happens in the spaces that you don't care about, right? Like these are the places that you really care about. I was studying some really enriching, very cool material, some really cool teachers, very smart professors. And I was just feeling very overcome by my peers and this huge pond that I was swimming in. I felt like such a little fish. And I felt like everything I said, if I added something in class, if I answered something wrong, if I shared a thought that nobody else agreed with or whatever, I was just so like mortified, like disgusted. You know, when your cheeks get like flush and your gums get tingly and like you can taste adrenaline in your mouth and like your heart sinks? This is an elevated feeling that I was experiencing every single day, multiple times a day. Like, no wonder I had stress hives every single night when I went to bed. But I was like getting so worked up, and my friend was kind of explaining to me like people are not remembering you as much as you think they are. People are not like focusing on you and worrying about you, and you know, if they are like talking about you or whatever, like that is so much more their business than it is your business. And that was a really helpful kind of thing for me to zoom out on, because even when I was just like walking through campus, I was like so worried people were perceiving me. And the thought of being perceived was just so stressful. Ironic now that I'm on a podcast, because the time that it's taken to get here. Whoa. Anyway. Okay, so another thing that I will do before a stressful event is I will minimize my task load afterwards. So if I know that I'm going to do something stressful, let's say I know I'm going to have a stressful conversation with a friend or my manager or something, I will make sure that whatever the day looks like after this thing is easy breezy as is possible for my schedule. So if I was going to work on something, maybe I'll move that to another day. If I was going to have a hangout with a friend that I don't really have the capacity for, I'll move that to another day. Like, I will minimize my task load after. If I was going to do chores or anything like that, I will just move those things to another day so that I can have full fuck off time when I get done. Basically, like I need time for my brain to just completely shut off and like cool down and just do something that is like calming and relaxing for me. That could be watching a movie, that could be coloring, that could be meditating, that could be yoga, that could be going on a walk, laying in bed and, like I said, binge watching a show. All these little things, you know, taking a nice long shower, that just like bring me peace and calm and just aren't taxing. Like it doesn't take a lot of work. Like, I'm not going to make a really big meal or something. If I know that I have something stressful going on towards the end of the day, I'm not going to meal prep after that. Like, I'm going to make sure that whatever I'm doing after it's the bare minimum. I've got food, I've got drink, I've got pee, I've got shower, I've got just simple, simple things. Another thing is that I will phone a friend afterwards. And I am very selective about who I will talk to after I have done something stressful. That will look like getting on the phone with my mom or my little sister or a best friend that kind of just like can kind of bring me back to myself. And talking to somebody else when you are going through a difficult thing is so useful because it helps you to remember that you are not the only one suffering, that suffering is a universal quality and characteristic. And honestly, I'm feeling a little insecure in this moment, and I'd rather just voice that like I haven't set the precedent enough for you guys to understand like why these habits are needed and why I preset cope. And I guess like I'll just take a moment to kind of explain to you guys. This is like challenging my perfectionism so much, but I fear I have to do it. I have to just be imperfect for you guys. But like I said, I have been a very anxious person throughout my entire life. If you've listened to this podcast, you are more than aware that I am an anxious person. This is something that I have not talked about until now, and I don't even know if I want to include this, but I am medicated for my anxiety, and it greatly helps. I was actually talking to a friend the other day about anxiety and medication, and she was asking me like, what are your thoughts, like should I get on medication? And I was like, that is a choice for you. If you decide to do it or decide against it, that has to be a choice for you. And nobody else can tell you what to do with that. For me, it has changed my life. Just transparently, it really has helped to give me the capability that I needed to tackle my life. I had always dealt with anxiety throughout the years, but it just really culminated when I went to college. And I think it culminated because I had such a lack of community. There was such a change in my environment and routines, and it was just a lot to grapple with. I'm a very big family person. So being so disconnected from my family, living hours and hours away from them was really hard. And I was very lonely. I also went through horrific series of injuries and surgeries. So, all of that was happening too. I was just very anxious about the fate of my career, the fate of my body, the fate of my love of dancing and creating and performing. I was very anxious about who I was as an academic because I had so much academic insecurity because I am dyslexic, and I had this imposter syndrome that I don't deserve to be here at this quote unquote prestigious university or whatever. I haven't earned my space here. I don't add to this space. I just wanted to belong and be of use so much that anything that I felt was not that gave me anxiety. It gave me a lot of anxiety. And for many years, my therapist kind of suggested, what if you went on medication? And I was very much against it. And once again, this is not about what you should or shouldn't do with medication. You do your research, you talk to your healthcare professionals, you have to connect to yourself and decide on that. I am not somebody who can like at all tell you yes or no for that. And I won't tell you yes or no because I didn't want to be disconnected from my sensory experience. That's why I stayed off of medication for so long. I remember I was talking to a friend at one point and he was saying that like he can't have a good cry. Like he was like, yeah, my Lexapro, like I just can't have a good cry. And I was like, oh, hell nah. Like I need to have the full range of emotions for me to feel like I'm fully living my life. Like for me to feel, first of all, as a creative being, but also just as like a human that feels deeply. My experience is rich because I feel so deeply, and sensitivity is my superpower. So I wanted to maintain that, but I didn't want it to be the double-edged sword of how it was kind of stabbing me back and preventing me from doing things. So I really struggled with it for a long time. I talked to my parents about it, which transparently were not very supportive of it. I love you down, mom and dad. That was a hard decision for me to make, to go against their choice because they are such a pillar and beacon of like, I just look up to my parents a lot. They really influenced me. I really respect them. I really respect their input. And it was a very, very hard decision for me to make that choice, knowing that my parents were not all the way supportive of it. I mean, my parents are going to support me no matter what. Like, I still had this perfectionism thing of like, I just wanted them to like be gun ho about everything I do, and they weren't, and that was very hard for me as well. But yeah, there was a lot of worry about like, will I still be creative? Will I still be sexual? Will I still be feel connected to my spirituality, like to something larger? Will I have the range of emotions? And I kind of just communicated all of this to my therapist, and she was saying like, first of all, my therapist is she's a talk therapist, so she's a psychologist. So of course, if I wanted to get medicated, I had to meet with a psychiatrist completely removed of her. But she was saying, you can convey all these things to your psychiatrist, and your psychiatrist can kind of tell you like the best course of action for that, because I'm not someone that wants to stay on medication for the rest of my life, and I totally support and love whatever anybody has chosen for themselves. But personally, that wasn't my goal or my hope. I am still hoping one day to wean off of it, but I feel like I need to get a little bit more of a hold on my mental patterns before I get there. That's my plan, my trajectory. Everybody is different. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm literally just somebody who is telling you their experience. And so I told my psychiatrist that I still wanted to have the full range of my emotions, and I still wanted to be able to exist in this life very fully. I want to be able to have a good cry when I need to. I want to be able to orgasm. Sorry, mom, if you're listening, but like I still wanted all of these things. So I have so much family that listens to this podcast. I'm sorry, y'all. You are learning some things about me today. But anyway, so we started on the lowest possible dosage, like literally like 5 or 10 milligrams, like 20 milligrams, like whatever the lowest possible is. Like my therapist was like, children are on higher doses than you. Like this is so low. And I needed that. And I incrementally increased over time, like over a long period of time, like a year almost. Every few months we would kind of meet again and decide like, do we want to increase? And finally, maybe like a year ago, I reached the point of like, okay, this is my cap. Like I don't want to go any higher than this. Personally, that was 100 milligrams, and I'm on Zoloft, and it has greatly helped. I still experience anxiety over regular things. Like if I'm going to have a hard conversation with a loved one, or if I'm going to, perform in front of a crowd, or if I'm going to talk to my manager about something scary or whatever like that, like I still get anxiety about those things that cause anxiety, but I'm no longer waking up with impending doom. Like I was dealing with dread. Like I'm telling you, I heard somebody say that like dread is like anxiety on steroids. And that is what I was feeling every morning, like waking up with a pit in my stomach. Like I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything with my day. I was so stunted with all of my creative goals and career goals because I was so scared to act. I was so scared to show up imperfectly. And I found that personally being medicated has really helped me with that. And I really do enjoy the experience. It is not something I want to rely on for the rest of my life. And if you are choosing to stay on medication for the rest of your life, that is totally fine and your choice. And like I have literally nothing to say about that. For my experience, I'm hoping to cultivate the mental habits and capability to be off of this and thriving one day, but I really did need it, and it really is serving its purpose right now. So kind of giving you like I kind of just wanted to set the stage for you, and this is such a candid and vulnerable conversation in a way that's kind of icking me out, but I'm trying to just stay with it for you guys and like show you that like this is what, if I'm going to preach showing up imperfectly and like authenticity is your power and all this stuff, then like unfortunately I do have to actually, walk the talk. And this is me doing that. I feel like yucky gucky in my chest. Like I feel so gross right now. I feel so exposed. Definitely gonna have a vulnerability hangover after I edit this and decide to publish it. But I do think it would have helped me to hear about this experience when I was in it. So it feels good for me to share it. And I just want you to know that I do have the full access of all of the richnesses of life experiences. I will not get more into that, but if you know what I mean, I'm thriving. If you know, you know, you know, you know. Anyway, I kind of just needed to walk you through that because I am someone that has dealt with debilitating anxiety, friendship anxiety, social anxiety, performance anxiety, like literal performance anxiety because I went to school for theater during COVID, which was like, hello, during an injury, also had adult braces, like just a moment of silence. A moment of silence. Like it was rough. It was humbling, y'all. Like I was just so incredibly awkward and disgusted by my experience is the word that I kept using at the time to describe it. But like, yeah, I mean, I was in college. You're supposed to be like the best years of your life. And I like am rocking a serious injury that I keep like having to have surgeries and stuff for. I'm like super socially anxious. COVID is going on. Like I said, I had adult braces, which was just wow. I remember one time I showed a picture to a guy that I was talking to, like a picture of my braces era, and he literally said, Wow, you were just walking around like that? Mm. 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 Mm, 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 mm. Cut him off. But yeah, of course I did. That was a long time ago. But like, it really was like, guys, like, it was, I had an underbite and underdeveloped teeth. Like, I had crooked teeth, and I had to, like, I had the rubber bands. Like, it wasn't like I was beyond Invisalign. Like, I was well beyond that help. Like, I was it was scary out here, y'all. I had the ugliest rubber bands to fix my bite. I had these, they're called buildups. And they're like these like blue like clay things that they like attach to your teeth to like, to basically like keep your bite from closing all the way. Sucked. Eating sucked. Oh my god. It was just so embarrassing, guys. Like, you don't understand. Like, I was just so icked out by my experience. So yeah, intensely awkward. Like, I just thought like everyone was noticing me and perceiving me as just disgusting as I perceived myself. Like, I felt like I had so much potential and I was squandering it, and it was really, really not a fun time. But all that to be said, I needed to set the stage for you of like why I developed a habit of preset coping, why I'm so anxious, or why I was so anxious. Honestly, now, like, I technically am in front of people every single day through my job. I am constantly singing and performing in front of people, and I have like almost 0% anxiety, which is crazy. And if I do get anxiety, which is totally normal and fine, I'm like, oh, okay, this is just an experience I'm having, just like anything else, and it will too pass. And that is like, I literally feel so much more capable. That is the result of years of therapy. That is the result of preset coping. That is the result of, obviously, being medicated has helped with that as well. But like, these strategies that I do, they were born for a reason. I'm telling y'all, I was literally in Olive Garden's bathroom having a panic attack on a date one time, like on a date with my boyfriend of many years. And I was like so stressed. I was like in the bathroom, like dry heaving, like just existing. Like, anything made me so anxious. So yeah, this is why I've developed these habits, and kind of getting back into like some more of my preset coping kind of strategies. And maybe I'll put this in a more comprehensive place on my Patreon. Like, I'll probably write out a list or create some kind of Canva sheet or something that, if you're on my Patreon, you can access. If you're interested in Patreon, it's essentially like it's like an app where you can have a more like a more accessible connection with your favorite creators. So like, if you enjoy the podcast, like, join me on Patreon. You can join for free, you can join for $5, or you can join for $7. Those are my tiers. The $5 tier will open you up to journal prompts and episode content before it comes out and stuff like that. If you're in the second tier, the highest tier, my $7 tier, I'm looking forward to making like a community where we can like anxious girlies unite. Like, we can connect, through that, and kind of like stay up to date in each other's lives, and speak life into each other on a random Wednesday evening. But like, I'm basically trying to cultivate like a safe, beautiful community that hopefully one day I can take into activist work, particularly surrounding the houseless community. That's like my further out goal. But like, right now I'm just trying to like get like-minded baddies together. Baddies unite, if you will. Anyway, so back to these habits, now that I've had that massive trauma dump interlude, that I feel like you understand me much more if you've hung out to this point. But like I said, I will phone a friend afterwards. That has always been so helpful for me to kind of zoom back out and realize like, I'm not the only one suffering. My problems are actually not that deep. And yes, they are deep to me, but they're also like like everybody has their thing. And like, this is just my thing. And that's okay. And we can laugh about it, and we can also cry about it. And I'm safe to feel this experience with another human. I am less alone. And that is such a good feeling. Another thing I'll do is like, to get out kind of like jittery movement, is I will like bounce around, or like shake my hands, or like kind of like do some lip trills, like just trying to get out noise, take a big breath in, and then like an audible, loud exhale. Like, I'll make sure I'm alone for this because it is deeply embarrassing if anybody saw me. But I will just like shake my body out, shake my limbs out. I'll do some tapping, which is like, I'll like cup my hand and like tap along my body, and like tap along my chest and my forehead, and kind of like getting all the jitters out. Because I think that there was a time in my life where I would feel the jitters come up and I would ignore them and pretend like I'm not anxious. And I remember before I was about to perform on stage one time, and I was like the lead in the show, and people would ask me, "Are you nervous?" Right before I would go on stage, and I would be pissed. I'd be like, "Run a fade right now. Why would you ask me that? Why would you remind me that? Why would you remind me that I could be nervous about this thing?" And now, I would be like, "Yeah, I'm nervous. Oh my god, I'm going to do it anyway." And that is bravery. Bravery is when you feel fear but you do the thing anyway. That's courage. And I feel like I've developed that over the years, but there was a time where I would pretend I wasn't anxious. I would pretend I wasn't having this experience because I thought if I avoided it enough, I would will it away. And of course, that never happens. So that's a way for me to kind of like be with the anxiousness that I'm feeling. Like, okay, my body's feeling anxious. Let's jump it out. Let's jump, 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 jump. Let's go ahead and shake these hands. Let's shake this head. Like, just kind of like getting out this tense energy in my body, shedding the light of consciousness on it, and just seeing, like, okay, I'm a little anxious right now. I'm a little nervous. This is the experience I'm having. I'm not in opposition to it. That opposition creates more tension. I don't need that. I know I'm anxious right now. It's okay for me to be anxious right now. And I am so damn brave for doing it anyway. That is literally how I will talk to myself now. Whoa, so much growth, because there was a time where I was so mean and so scary to myself. I was afraid to be alone with myself at a certain point, honestly. So I'm feeling so much, better about that. But anyway, another one is praying. For me, praying really helps to like align my spirit and my motive and my calm and my peace together. It feels like a way to call on the divine, whatever you describe as the divine. It feels like a way for me to connect with my ancestors. There's something really meaningful about calling on, people in my family who have passed away to say, like, can you be with me in this moment, please? Can you shed peace over my body? Can you shed clarity over my body? Will you whisper sweet words of love into my ear and allow me to be a conduit for your messages of love and service? Like, I will just take a moment to commune with a deeper part of this experience. And that always, without fail, makes me feel like I belong, makes me feel like I am loved, makes me feel like I am capable. Even if there is nothing on the other side of that conversation, I don't care. The fact that I'm doing it, that placebo is placeboing the hell out of me, and it's doing its thing and it's working. So I'll take it. So prayer is another way that I will kind of preset cope. Also, something to help me zoom out. So, like I said, talking with a loved one, especially, is something that really helps me to just like zoom out from the experience and be like, oh, wow, this isn't a huge, huge, huge life ending, huge, crazy big deal. Like my brain and my anxiety and the swirling anxiety world inside my head has made it out to be. And something my mom used to say, which would bring me so much peace and I've always carried with me, is this moment in your life is a tiny grain of sand on the beach of your entire life. And it's like, it's as beautiful and worthy as the beach, but it's also just a little piece of sand. And like that is just so relaxing to me to remember that this is not as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be, but it is also that deep because it's that deep to me, and I'm the one living in my world and my experience. So if it's a big deal, it's a big deal, but it's also like it's a big deal to me, Rebecca, but it's also not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. And that is a beautiful way for me to honor the depth of intensity for myself, but also be like, this isn't life ending. And finally, creating a safe space as a landing pad, which is full circle how we started this, where I talked to you about how I will create a safe space. I will use lighting and essential oils, visual components, or whatever I can to really make a cozy environment and like a calming, like relaxing environment for me to just luxuriate in and for me to just bask in and land in and crash into. And yeah, these are some things that I do before stressful events to help me to feel more like myself, to help me to stay regulated, to help me to stay true to myself and my objective truths. I hope that this does something for you. I hope this makes you feel less alone in your experience. I really thank you for being with me. This was a really unexpectedly vulnerable episode. I did not think I was going to tell y'all that I am medicated. That feels really, really, really vulnerable, but it also was a life-changing thing that I feel like I want to share with you, and I feel like I'm ready to share with you. And that is all I will say on that. I hope you have a really beautiful day. Thank you for being here with me, Rebecca. And I hope that life bestows glimmers of joy and peace upon even the smallest moments for you. You are magical. Did you know that? I hope you do now. I love you. Have a good day.
my own content.